Welcome, everybody, to Vision Untethered Conversations with Inspirational Visionary Leaders. My name is Jill Simonds. I am founder of Savvy Strategic Partners. We are a dedicated C suite of fractional executives who are executing vision, increasing business value, and helping founders realize freedom. I'm so excited to have Steve Caton from Altezza Solutions with us today. Steve and his team of experienced sales professionals are dedicated to delivering affordable results for businesses looking to scale. With years of expertise in driving impactful sales strategies, Steve is here to share valuable insights on how to achieve his success without breaking the bank and share some of his background in success as an entrepreneur. Steve, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too, Jill. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What inspired you? What's your purpose and passion that led you to where you are and to the creation of Altezza?
Thanks for asking. So my entrepreneurial journey kind of has this two-part story to it with a big long chapter of working for other people in between. So I
Mm,
started as an entrepreneur right out of college. Me and a buddy started a company in North Georgia doing real estate, and I loved it. I loved being my own boss, and man, I made a ton of mistakes because I was in my 20s, so it
mm,
was crazy.
hmm
Did that for 11 years and then just decided, I was ready to do something different and went out to Southern California and got into the whole dot-com boom in the late 90s and became a chief growth officer for a startup dot com. And that began the journey of working for other people for about 20 years or so. And then I just decided, I was ready to go back and be an entrepreneur again. And I kind of always had that itch. It was there the whole time. It was just kind of like, what if I do it? What am I going to do? What is it I'm going to do?
mm, hmm
And so as I started thinking about the journey I'd been on working for others, one of the things that was true in that chapter was I was coming into these emerging growth companies as the first salesperson and several occasions, just like in that
hmm
dot com. And as coming into the an emerging growth business as the first salesperson means that you not only have to sell, but you also have to build systems and processes, and you also have to build the go-to-market strategy, and then build a team. So,
hmm
so it's a lot. And what I learned is the ability to do that is not, it's not necessarily, it may be common, but it's not necessarily affordable. Like to try to go find somebody like that and bring
hmm
them into an emerging growth business that's not quite at scale yet is pretty
Yeah.
risky because those people command big salaries. I was
hmm
able to do it kind of creatively because I had sold my that first business, and so I had a little bit of financial margin to work with.
Yeah.
Um, so I was able to kind of work more creatively. But essentially, Jill, what I saw was how hard it was for founders to go from zero to the first salesperson. And so when I started thinking about what kind of a business am I going to start, I was like,
Yeah.
well, heck, I saw that pattern over and over again. Why not go do that? Go solve that problem. And so that became the
hmm
inspiration for Altezza. And
Yeah.
once I kind of did some research and looked out there to see what options were available that met that need, I didn't see a lot. And so I thought, well, there's either a great opportunity here or it's a really bad idea, and I'm going to figure it out as soon as I start to try to do it. So,
hmm
but let's just
Uh,
dive in and make it happen.
yep, exactly. Such a
Yeah.
need, though, and such a pivotal transition in a business, and very fragile transition because oftentimes the founder-led sales, have gotten the business to where it is. And
Yeah.
so there's so much delicacy with how you approach that with the right individual and process um, to go to the next level as opposed to, what got us here and this approach is going to get us to this next level is often not the case.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just scary for a founder. And I've been in this
Yeah.
same seat myself. It's like, okay,
hmm
can I really let go of this thing that really feels like my baby and let somebody
Mm,
else go represent it faithfully in the marketplace? And are they going to do as
hmm
good a job as I am? And, so I don't know. It's scary. It's
Yeah.
expensive. I'll just keep doing it myself, which then
Yeah.
creates different problems, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. What's a pivotal kind of failure, learning, or misstep encountered through this journey for you, and how has that shaped the growth of Altezza?
Well, I tell you, the one of the things that is a fairly fresh mistake that happened kind of late last year, rolling into this year, was a failure to trust my gut. And it was
Mm,
specific to a particular client that we were working with, where I kind of knew going in that it was probably not a great fit, but
hmm
I agreed to take it because it was coming from a very trusted referral source, right? Someone that, I have a great relationship with. And so there was a little bit
Yes.
of that tension of, I don't know if this is a great fit, but I really want to step up and do well for this referral source because they've been such a great supporter of the business. And so went ahead and took it, said yes to it. Actually went really well for a period of time, and then I could start to see the wheels coming off. And
hmm
again, I knew, okay, we need to we need to fix this, or we need to be done. And I just kept
Mm,
hoping it would get better, hoping it would change. My gut was telling me it's not, but I didn't listen, and it
yeah.
ended up unfortunately just blowing up in a really nasty way. And I just was like, Steve, why did you fail to do what you've learned a long time ago, which is to always trust your gut? So anyway, that was a really good reinforcement, and because
hmm
of that, we are now, my entire leadership team is just like we have this conversation very intentionally about what is our gut telling us here, versus what what are we trying to move forward with that may be going
hmm
against our gut and what we know is best.
Oh man. Yeah, I feel like you and I had this conversation a while back too, and just similar story with a referral situation from a trusted resource and trusting in kind of their vetting a little
Hmm.
bit.
Yeah.
And it ended up a nasty, very nasty situation for us as well when the writing was on the wall day one.
Yeah.
And it came down to, I think we all need to learn that lesson the hard way sometimes because it's a sheer reminder of a core values mismatch.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I mean, it makes us stronger coming out the other side of it, but it it costs us so much more than just that immediate loss or whatever happens with that existing client, right?
Yes.
The engagement with a client that is draining or a poor fit or not in alignment or any of those factors with what you do or who your people are, any of those um, costs you and the business so much more, whether it's grief or expense or energy. So coming
Yeah.
back out of that it's hard. I've learned that lesson too, and it was rather early on as well. So
Yeah.
I guess glad to learn it early in the path, because it's I think so common too, because you're taking these opportunities and referrals, and really if it comes from a source you trust, or a person or another business referring partner, it's hard to say no, because
Right.
you think like, oh, okay, like maybe then they're seeing something that I'm not, and I really want to show up for them,
Yeah.
because I entrust in them, and it ends up, if it backfires, it's way more costly than just not having taken it at all.
Oh my
So
gosh. So true. And you talked about something I want to come back to, Jill, that I think is super
yeah.
important. That is the core value piece.
Hmm
Because at the end of the day, when I look back at that situation, that's where the rub was, right? There was a
hmm
misalignment with a couple of very important core values that we have.
yeah.
And man, so having first of all, how important is it to be anchored in core values? It's so important, I think. But then if you
hmm
have these core values and then you fail to use them, as a
Yeah.
way to not just vet people who are part of your team, but the people that you work with, then you're just setting yourself up for these chaotic situations where, like you said, you burn cash, you burn energy, you burn equity relationally, and just, oh my gosh, there's so
Hmm.
much, so much wisdom and just staying true to your core values.
Yep. It's key. It's the number one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say are some indicators? You work with business owners in the
Mhm.
seat of really needing to elevate the business from a founder dependency, specifically in the sales role.
Yeah.
What are some indicators that you see that that owner may be too deeply involved, and how has it limited that company's ability to scale?
Yeah. Oh man, I love this conversation, Jill. I actually shot a video about this. I don't know, a couple of years ago. I was walking around in the
Hmm.
woods in Colorado, and I was thinking about this very thing. And honestly, this is what inspired me to start Altezza because I wanted to help.
Hmm.
I wanted to help founders break through that ceiling. And I know that sales is one of the things. It's not the only thing, but it's one of the things that often puts them in that spot. I call it the accidental growth lid, right? And it's ultimately the outcome, like the lagging indicator that you see is the growth lid. Like all of a sudden my business is just stagnant. We're not making any progress from a top line revenue growth perspective. So what's going on? And
Hmm.
so what as I dug into that and thinking about it, I was looking at it from the lens of sales, but I think these things are true across the business, not just because of sales. So one of the things I would say a symptom would be just a lack of any maturity with systems and processes, right? So businesses need to have operational systems and processes in order to scale. But when
Hmm.
we are too tethered and too deep into the business, what we do is create the systems and processes that work for us. So I've got it all up here in
Hmm.
my head, like it's in my head. Maybe I put it on a spreadsheet, I don't know, but I know for sure it's mostly in my head. And so
Right.
therefore I'm not able to empower anybody else to do it. So it's all on me to do it. So if you just see a lack of maturity with standard operating procedures and systems and processes, it's probably because you're just a little bit too deep in the weeds, right?
Mm,
That would be one of the things. The other thing, and this
yes.
shows up. We run our company on the EOS framework, and so we have rocks and things like that that we're always chasing down.
Yep.
Well, whenever if I see rocks that just aren't getting done, like we're just not moving them forward, most of the time when we dig into it, what we find is it's whether it's me or one of the other kind of key leaders on my team,
Yeah.
they're too deep in the weeds on other things and they're not able to be strategic, and all
Yeah.
those rocks are strategic. So it's like they're not able to move any kind of strategic initiatives forward because they're just mired in the weeds of the day to day too much, right?
Hmm.
So that would be another indicator. And then just one I'll speak to, Joe, with sales specifically. When a founder is too when sales is all about them and it all rises and falls on them, here's what happens almost every time. They can close the deals that are right in front of them. So you get a referral, like we were talking about before. You get a referral from somebody that, highly trusted. That person that's being referred trusts the person who referred them. So they basically the decision's almost made. If they like you and what you offer helps them, they're going to say yes very quickly. So you can close
Hmm.
those kind of deals in your sleep. But all the other opportunities that require more time, more nurturing, more investment, more follow up, those just kind of fall through the cracks because you just don't have the time. You don't have the time to babysit or nurture all those other sales opportunities because you're spinning too many plates. So
Hmm.
that's another really big indicator especially when founders are in the middle of the sales process.
Yep. Absolutely. That's huge. Well said, for sure. How can business owners then design these systems? What are some, processes, especially with sales, that have allowed the companies you work with to thrive without their constant oversight and ensuring sustainable growth within the company?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think you have to have, as a founder, you've got to have self-awareness. Like first and foremost, you have to understand what it is you're good at and what you're not good at. So I think going back to your question about mistakes I've made, there's, some I've made in the past for sure, but one of the ones that I saw in other leaders that I worked with was a lack of self-awareness around where their strengths and weaknesses were. So, and that would create a situation where they hang on to stuff longer than they should. So for me, just bringing that into my context, I know I'm a guy who values systems and processes, just like I was saying, but I'm not good at it. Like that's not my gift. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not the guy to build that stuff. And if I have to do it, I'll kind of brute force my way through it, but it's gonna suck the life out of me. So I know that enough to know I better find somebody who can do that for me. And then I've got to turn them loose, like just turn them loose and let them do what they need to do, giving them the support
Yeah.
they need, right? But I've got to find somebody to help me do that. So
Yep.
first of all, was self-awareness, knowing, okay, I'm not good at that. I need help. So let me go find
Hmm.
help. And then once you have the help that's going to do that for you, then you can't there. I talk about delegate, not abdicate. So I need to
Okay.
delegate, but I don't want to abdicate responsibility. I still have a responsibility to help kind of translate vision, right, into that person so that they understand what's the big picture that they're trying to support. And then
Yeah.
and then stay with them long enough that they get it and you see that they get it. And
Yeah. Oh, I
too many
love that.
too many times as owners, we just kind of let go and go, well, Jill's smart, she'll figure it out. And
Hmm.
we don't want to do that either, right?
So, such a good call out. Yeah, I like how you said that because I think I've written something similar in the sense, like, speaking to business owners about proper delegation, effective delegation, and said something to the tune of there's delegating and then there's negligence,
Yeah.
where it's like if you're too free to literally just hand something over to somebody without any context, alignment with kind of the greater picture and the grander vision and touch points along the way, let's check in.
Yeah.
How has this been so far? Where can we recalibrate? Because this piece of it still isn't happening quite so, or whatever it might be. That's where things are effectively actually delegated and handed over and ownership to somebody so they truly feel like they own it as opposed to I'm kind of doing this for this person, kind of
Yeah.
filling in this gap. It's like, how do you truly delegate it to their role so that they own it? Um, it requires way more responsibility than just cutting the line and saying, "Here, this is yours."
Yeah, I
So,
will,
I
and
love
it's
that.
so tempting to do that, right? Because we want to get it off our plates, and we're so thankful somebody else can do it. But yeah, we can't. I loved what you were saying. Like you just can't just totally release it, but we also can't micromanage it either, right? So there's a delicate dance that we've got to play there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So true. Uh, so speaking on behalf of yourself as a business owner, and then combined too with what you might be seeing with businesses that you all are working with, what do you see as some common psychological barriers that are preventing business owners from stepping back or less involvement or proper delegation, and how can these be identified and overcome
Hmm.
as those psychological barriers? Any for you that stand out to you that you've realized in over time?
Well, yes, and this one hits close to home for me
Hmm.
because I've been in sales for as long as I have, and I love it. I had a psychological barrier around truly letting go of that,
Hmm.
because I'm like, okay, well, if I let go of that, then what do I do? Like, what's my purpose? What's my value to the business? Because that's my identity, right? That's what I do. I'm the sales guy,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so that was a tough one for me. And so ironically, here it is. I'm starting this business. It's all about bringing really experienced salespeople into a business part time so that the founder can be freed up to do the other things. And
Hmm.
I wasn't even doing it. I'm not even eating my own dog food. And luckily,
Yeah.
I was working with a mindset coach at the time, and he was
Mm,
really pressing me on that.
yeah.
And he basically was, I mean, he just called it out and, said, dude, it just seems like you're not willing to let go of the very thing that is the value proposition of your business. So how can you truly sell it to somebody else? And I'm like, come on, man.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
thanks a lot. Well, anyway, so that was the thing for me. But what helped in that scenario was when I realized, okay, if I'm doing more time doing the rainmaking in my business, so rainmaking is different than sales, right? Rainmaking is more about, getting out and having conversations like what we're doing right now, Jill. So we're having conversations that other business owners are listening to, and some are going to
Yep.
be like very intrigued and go, "Oh, I'd like to know more about that." Speaking at conferences, doing my networking, just being really focused on building strategic partnerships and alliances. When I did that, it created so much opportunity. And so this mindset coach actually helped me calculate the value of that time and showed me
Hmm.
that when I spent time doing that, it was actually worth, I can't even remember the number, but I want to say it was around $2,000 an hour. And so I was like, well, holy crud, what am I mean, that's all I need to be doing. If it's worth that much to the company, that's what I need to do. And I need to bring somebody else in who can draft behind me and close and be the closer.
Yeah.
And so I did that, brought somebody in from my team, and they're doing that. The growth that has happened since I finally let go of that has been exponential. I mean, just like double the growth rate that we had before I made that decision. And then I just, it was like one of those moments where you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, duh. Seriously, like what was I thinking? But
Yeah.
because you called it out as a psychological barrier, that's what it was for me. I didn't really know what my identity was going to be if I stopped doing that.
Oh man. Yeah. And that hits hard. Um, the value and the identity and worth in ourselves
Mhm.
can be such a block and a barrier to freeing ourselves to actually grow. It's a double-edged sword because it feels, like you're definitely letting go of something that you poured your blood, sweat, tears into. And who are you without that, or without your involvement in it, or thinking small,
Yeah,
because we often think that we're the best qualified or suited to do it, and it's just not true.
yeah. I think
So,
thinking small, man, that nails it. I feel like it's
mhm,
there's a lack of an abundance mindset, I think there.
yes, yeah,
And that it was a big reality check for me. And at the end of the day, Jill, I'm doing what I'm trying to do here is build something that has a legacy that is way beyond me, right? Like I want to leave a legacy for my family and for the people that are helping me to do this thing
yeah,
uh, that lasts for generations. Well, who cares if I'm the guy selling it or not? How stupid is that, right? Like to get
hmm,
hung up on that.
yeah,
So yeah, it was a failure to recognize the bigger picture and the abundance of the bigger picture and thinking small. That's a good,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, it's limiting, right? Limiting beliefs often are psychological fears. We're either choosing fear and scarcity or love and abundance,
yeah, yeah,
one way or the other. And obviously, our default as humans is survival,
yeah,
right? We're
that's right.
surviving. And so it takes so much psychological growth, development in us, and awareness in ourselves to actively choose the alternative of surviving. Because that will always leave us at our bare minimum and limiting belief.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
huge.
amen.
See it every day. I see it every day. And it's so much easier said than done. Because when it is your business and the amount of weight and pressure and responsibility that is on your back can keep you in that space. Like, just
Yep,
get through today, you know, like just get to the next day. So,
that's
yeah,
right.
so huge. How have you seen within organizations you're serving that excessive involvement from the CEO, from the founder, affects that value and the business valuation or its readiness for that owner to step away a little bit more, exit? What are you seeing with that excessive involvement and the limitations it has on the business to actually grow?
Yeah, well, I mean, gosh, it feels like so much of what we've talked about is all
Yeah,
encompassing in that conversation, right? So what I was saying
right.
earlier about immature systems and processes, I mean,
Mm,
you're trying to sell a business that doesn't have repeatable systems and processes. Good luck, right? Because the buyer, if they've got any sophistication at all, is going to see that immediately. And so that's going to have a huge impact on the valuation. And then again, the lack of those things also means that the business is too dependent on me. So if
yeah,
I get hit by the proverbial bus, the business is not going to survive that. And again, who wants to buy that? If there's someone buying a business like that, they're just buying you, right? They're just buying
yeah,
the human. They're not buying the business. So yeah, and so
right.
that's the valuation of our business is really what is it? It's directly proportional, right, to our involvement. The more involvement we have, and the more it depends on us, the less it's worth. So it's an inverse
Mm,
relationship. And
yep,
sales is the big one. I can tell you, I've had so many conversations with exit planners and business brokers who've
right.
called us because they're trying to help somebody sell their business, and they dig into it and realize if we take the owner out of the sales motion, there's
There's
not
no
going to be
revenue
there's
anymore.
no sales motion. So yeah, we've got to fix that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if the business is not going to be able to generate new income and revenue streams beyond the relationships and intellectual property that that one person brings to the table, it's too dependent on that owner. And
Yeah,
there's not a business there very much longer if they're not in it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
What role has, we talked a little bit about core values, so
Uh-huh.
this kind of ties into that as well, but I'm curious what role cultivating a strong culture plays in enabling businesses to grow, that you're working with, independent of that founder being, on the forefront of revenue generation.
Well, I'll speak to this past experience.
Yeah.
I was I was part of a software company, interestingly enough, that had an incredible culture. Like it was just the founder of this company cared deeply about culture,
Hmm.
and other than long-term vision and direction, he owned culture. And then
Mm,
he other people owned the rest of it, but he saw it as his personal responsibility to own culture. And so we had a very, very
yeah.
healthy culture. And one of the aspects of the culture was just about caring for each other. So people on the team caring for each other, creating safe environment for people to have all kinds of open and honest, transparent conversations. So basically, what you had was this team of people that truly loved what they were doing and also
Hmm.
loved each other, loved who they were doing it with, and then what I saw happen was the way that our people treated our customers was
Yeah.
so amazing, so unique compared to our competition, that when people would refer their friends to us, the referral wasn't based on, oh, they've got the best software. It was based on their people are incredible. I've never worked with anybody that has better people. And so people would buy our software, even though it might not be exactly
Hmm.
what they needed, because they wanted to work with our people. So that was a lesson that stuck with
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
And I carry it into my leadership at Altezza. I think that what we're trying to do is build that kind of a culture. Um,
Hmm.
Invested is one of our core values, and then that invested means that we are invested in the mission and vision of what we're trying to accomplish. And so we're looking to attract people who are attracted to that same mission and vision. And then we're going to invest in you. If you're part of this team, a lot of our people are independent contractors, right? They're salespeople that are working for multiple clients, and they're not employees of ours. They're independent contractors that are part of our team, that we match up with our clients. Well, they have to be invested like in us, but
Right.
we have to take the lead with that, right? So we need to invest in them first, and then they'll invest in us. And
Yeah.
when you have that two-way investment thing going, now they're going to invest in the customer, and the customer is going to have an amazing experience as well. So I
Awesome.
believe culture is huge,
Yeah.
and it's not just a theory for me. I've actually seen it play out in very powerful ways at Altezza and where I've been in the past.
Yep. Absolutely. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have
Yeah.
the most strategic plan and approach, go-to-market plan, sales closer, that can lock it in and then lock in a system that's going to win and produce the outcomes. But if the culture is misaligned in any way, it falls apart.
Well, and this is we could have a whole other conversation about that, Jill. But just
Hmm.
to put a exclamation point on what you just said, the company I was just talking about, that software
Hmm.
company, it got acquired.
Hmm.
And the company that acquired them
Yeah.
did not care about the culture.
Yep.
Okay.
I was
No
gonna
value,
guess. I'm like, let me guess.
no value for the culture at all. So guess what
Ugh.
happened? Uh,
Yeah, it just
all those amazing people, they left.
left.
They left.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the company wasn't nearly as successful as it was before. People weren't buying the software like they were in the past. And the acquiring companies looking around going, what the heck happened? It's like, well, you just basically devalued
Stripped
the
it.
thing
Yeah,
that
you
was the
stripped
most
of it all.
valuable part of this company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I
Yep.
mean,
You
and that,
expected just to walk in and take this client base and, run with that when really the magic sauce was the people behind it.
that's right. They
Yeah.
bought the customers, but they ignored the magic sauce that kept the customers, but
Yeah.
in the company, that created the long
Gosh.
value. Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than looking at it as let's acquire this to then replicate what is it they're doing? What's this magic sauce?
Yeah.
And how can we infiltrate that collectively across the board?
Yeah. Don't you
Yeah,
feel like that happens a lot though in acquisitions? Don't you see that happen?
totally. Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Similarly, a managed service provider company we were working with, very similarly, kind of expected this. Let's just kind of append these other revenue streams and acquisitions and, plow forward. It just absorbed in and eventually flatlined because those weren't then their own growing revenue streams based on the foundation of what made them successful in the first place. It basically just like their business just gobbled it up
Yeah.
is what happened to it. It's so sad to
Yeah. It
see.
is.
And such a waste, not only is it a huge cost that doesn't return, so it puts that business in a really tough situation, but there is so much potential and opportunity in that if it had been acquired by the right mindset leader, the right business owner to leverage what foundation made it strong in the first place. They literally just like ate it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's gone. So it's
Yep.
such a shame.
It is.
Yeah. Well, to conclude, I am curious to share with our listeners what practical steps you suggest to entrepreneurs who are struggling to let go, to untether, while also maintaining alignment with their vision.
Yeah. I mean, just sharing from my own experience, Jill, I would say that first, understand being, getting honest with yourself about what your zone of genius is. Like, what are the things that only you can do? And there shouldn't be a lot of that, right? Um,
Hmm.
maybe there's one or two things that really only you can do in the
Yeah,
context of your business, and everything else can be done by other people. I think first
right.
understanding what that is really important. And I don't know about you, but I needed somebody else to help me figure that out.
Hmm.
I couldn't do
Yeah.
that exercise on my own. So having someone help me figure out what that zone of genius
Mm,
was very helpful. And then once I
yeah.
knew that, then I knew, okay, now I know what I need to get rid of. So what's the order of things that I get rid of, right?
Right.
And for me, it was getting rid of the things that that I dislike or I'm really not good at. Like I probably prioritize those things. It's like I know these things suck the life out of me, so I'm going to get rid of them first. I don't know that
Mm.
that's always the best way to go, but that's how I did it.
I can second with that approach. Yeah, because it's where the most painful energy drains and energy sucks that are pulling you away from the areas that you shine the most.
Yeah.
Because what the business needs is for you to shine here,
Yes.
and everything else that is just, oh, it pulls you in, it drains you, it's dreadful. I feel like that's the easiest approach because once those are off your plate, how much more freedom, creativity, and energy you have is a 180.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so good. So good.
Yeah.
Steve, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your story and just being a delight. It was fun.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I love the conversation and yeah, I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. If listeners want to find Altezza and the problems that you solve in the sales seat in organizations, where can they get in touch with you or find you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so if someone wants to
Hmm.
connect with me directly, just look me up on LinkedIn. Luckily, there's not a lot of Catons out there. Caton
Hmm.
is the last name, so you'll find me pretty easily there. And then our website, altezzasolutions.com, if you want to know more about the company, and that's
Hmm.
spelled with two Z's. So
Yep. We'll include it in the description for the episode when it
awesome.
goes live too, so
Right.
people can get to the right spot. Great. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next time.